the human community that claims the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force within a given territory is called a non-state institution. Hi, we are Rodel Academy, and today we're going to talk about non-state institutions. The definition reflects the inevitable existence of the government, social services, and the police in every society. On the other hand, non-state institutions are institutions not related to the components of the state. Institutions function with minimal interventions from non-state institutions. Although states possess the official political power in a given territory, the capacity of a non-state institution to affect its political and economic trajectory in a society cannot be discounted.
There are four types of non-state institutions: banks and corporations, cooperatives and trade unions, transitional advocacy groups, development agencies, and international organizations. These institutions are equally capable of influencing policy information and implementation.
Commercial banks provide financial deposits with security and convenience, which may come into the form of credit card, debit card, or checks. They also provide business, individual, and personal loans, enabling commercial banks to earn interest.
Investment banks are financial intermediaries that perform a variety of services for businesses and some governments. It issues securities to the investing public. It makes markets, facilitate mergers, and other corporate reorganization. It also acts as a broker for the institutional clients.
Insurance companies aid individuals and companies in terms of risk reduction and wealth preservation. They are capable of earning money and paying claims through their large number of insurances.
Brokerages are the intermediaries in the transaction between buyers and sellers for the purpose of security and are commission-based earnings.
Investment companies and corporations help individuals invest their funds or money with other investors to manage portfolios and security. Cooperatives and trade unions. They are comprised with workers and laborers with common goals, interests, and purposes. They have a primary role of promoting labor welfare and good industrial relations.
There are many rules of trade unions.
They could be powerful and influential in creating political impact. They could also be in conflict with other parties due to the number of members with common interests that are different with other unions' interests.
The market. What is it? The market is reactive because it preoccupies economic aims that concerns employment, salaries, wages, inflation rates, and rights.
In regulatory, they are influential in determining and improving job qualities and standards to regulate employment functions.
Democratizing promotes rights to economic democracy and participation to industrial democracy.
In service, they promote the welfare and members through various initiatives and partnerships with other organizations that provide service to them.
Enhancement is concerned for potential development and members' improvement.
In terms of welfare, multifunctional institutions conform more to the idea of state unions as being part of a movement. Now let's move over to transitional advocacy groups, where social issues and problems involved may be extended across borders and countries.
The international law-making undergoes change and have been more concerned of public issues. These changes were brought about by the rapid growth of transitional advocacy networks constantly influence the policy-making in a country by sponsoring advocacy campaigns, publicizing social issues. According to Evans, transitional networks and corporations are considered as the bad guys, whereas the NGOs are the good guys. Transitional actors could be categorized into local social movements, foundations, media, religious organizations, scholars, international agencies, and regional intergovernmental organizations.
For example, human rights, consumers' rights, women's rights, international peace, and environmental issues.
Development agencies are organizations with specific aims and goals. It concentrate on the growth, progression, and advancement with specific societal concerns that can be infrastructure and social institutions.
One of the most important roles of international organizations is translate agreed upon values into rights and obligations.
The central role of international organization is essentially to provide support and assistance through organized framework and international cooperation. For example, the United Nations. They concentrate mostly on the distribution of equitable health and social development, and also have diverse networks to enable them to provide and exchange support across different borders and localize their implementations for international policy.
For example, United Nations or UN, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development or OECD, Organization of African Unity or OAU, Organization of American States or OAS, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, European Union and European Free Trade Association.
Non-government organizations. They are often characterized by their intensive collaboration with the local holders to improve their beneficiaries' conditions. They are mostly independent and they encourage participation from the public and aims to promote social changes through their initiatives and organizational methods.
A non-profit, often voluntary, organizations that carry a broad range of social development foundations with and on behalf of people. The vast majority of these organizations exist outside of the government, and thus their programs emanate more from the expressed needs of people rather than from the government.
Categories of NGOs are community associations, policy advocacy groups, service provider intermediaries, contractors, and cooperatives. Community associations represent voices of people from different communities and act as a bridge between members of the communities and government. Policy advocacy groups have local, national, and international level of participation. It serves as catalyst for collective action among poor persons in societies unaccustomed to such behavior. Service provider intermediaries have national and international levels of participation. It serves remote areas and communities, especially those who fail to receive government programs. It also seeks funds through income-generating activities, which are mostly non-profit. Contractors are involved in sponsored projects as consultants to government agencies or to international financial institutions that gain no profit at all. Cooperatives are formed when a task cannot be done on the individual level, such as obtaining credit. It also protects and provides economic benefits to the needy.
Now let's go to the interrelationship of the government and non-state institutions. Now, governments play a vital role in the human society because it is expected that their efforts and initiatives must be aligned with public welfare and services. Personal interest must be the least concern of the bureaucracy to ensure goodwill and to avoid societal dysfunction.
Governments are faced with varying demands from the constituents. When governments are unable to address such demands and their related issues, non-state institutions create responses to facilitate government intervention through policy campaigns or even actual delivery of demanded services and products. Presently, non-state institutions have been empowered, allowing them to have greater and wider participation in different societies. This paved the way to a broader relationship with government institutions. Staten, 2008.
The ideal relationship of government and non-state institution is on equal footing in addressing social issues. In a continuously globalizing world, interdependence among states in procuring commodities and services are inevitable. The lack of supply in one country can be addressed by another country that has a surplus of which. As raw materials become scarcer and more difficult to procure, economic alliance presents itself as one of the solutions. It aims to promote economic improvement and at the same time resolve issues concerning closed economics. Elements of national security, socio-political stability. Regardless of social difference, social harmony must be achieved and maintained through the effort of the government, public, and other institutions. Territorial integrity. This refers to the permanent inviolability of our national territory and its effectiveness control by the government and the state. Economic solidarity and strength.
Economic equality must prevail considering public interest, dignity, and the labor's welfare. Ecological balance. The reference to the conservation of the environment through initiatives in sustainable development. Cultural cohesiveness. This refers to the common set of norms and values rooted from cultural ethics. Moral spiritual consensus. There should be a national cooperation guided by common deeds, goals, and objectiveness. External peace. Society must be free from the threat, violence, war, and hostility.
Non-state institutions are actively involved in disaster response. Has been observed due to the increase in weather variability that has caused climate-induced disasters.
There is no such thing as a natural disaster, only natural hazards.
The main cause of disaster is a combination of hazard and vulnerability. Hazards may be caused by natural phenomena or by humans. Society and its environment are vulnerable to these kinds of incidents. The preparations and planning must be led by the government body. They must be followed by the society under it, making other institutions react to the given situation. Key elements for disaster risk management. First step, identification or assessment of risk. It involves monitoring, identifying risk, and analyzing vulnerability. Second step, the prevention and mitigation process management will set up plans and actions towards the risk and disasters. Third step, warnings and notices are provided to the public, which includes evacuation and emergency planning. The fourth step, rehabilitation, reconstruction, and rescue services happen.
Social development entails productivity, better efficiency, accomplishment, and innovations.
Example, the pursuit of public health equity or equal access to health systems is one of the primary foci of international organizations such as the United Nations Development Programme or UNDP and World Health Organization. Human rights and
Social development. Social development is a very long process that requires a proper strategic planning and operational planning.
In conclusion, non-state institutions are very complicated. It requires maximum efforts from different parties and organizations for it to be successful. We are Rudel Academy, and thanks for watching. Independence of states is you have a primary role of promoting. May ikat-ikat mo.